Hey guys, this is a unplanned video, but the Diablo 4 dev team, Diablo 4 Blizzard team, just posted a Diablo 4 open beta retrospective, transforming feedback into change. I thought I would just take a look at this and give my thoughts as a more casual player of the game. But I say casual, but then I'm looking up news about the game before it's even released. But anyways, you guys know I'm a big fan of Diablo 4, and I'm super excited. The beta, I feel like, man, I wish there was like another beta or something before the game releases. After playing Diablo 4, I've been trying to play other ARPGs and none of them kind of do it for me. I played some Diablo 2 Resurrected again, but yeah, this is, I thought I would just make a video to take a look at some of their thoughts from the beta. And I'm not no high-end player, but I'm hoping there's some more regular, more just generalized feedback, not just super technical high-end stuff that maybe I didn't get into. Anyways, let's see here. I'm just gonna skim this intro part. A lot of people testing it. These players sent countless demons back to the burning hells, right? Obtained powerful gear. Let's see. Oh, here in bold here, we have made a variety of fixes and updates to various systems in Diablo 4, all of which will be present in the version of the game that launches June 6th. Even though I love how they keep saying June 6th, whereas I'm pretty sure at least half of the player base is going to be playing is June 2nd. You know, if you did the pre-early, if you paid a little extra, I think it was either the 80 or the $80 one or the $100 set of Diablo 4, or version of it, you get to start that Friday or 4 days. I think it's 4 or 3 days early. Anyways, let's go through this. Dungeons, dungeon layouts. One of the most common pieces of feedback received players is that they don't like to do backtracking. I agree. I feel like, especially backtracking when there's no enemies there, right? So they have optimized dungeons. I don't know. I can't remember the names of the dungeons, but I'm guessing these are. It says these are the ones in the Fraction Peaks, but it sounds like they're going to do it everywhere. Primary goal and layout changes is to reduce certain kinds of backtracking, which detect from the player's experience. That's good. Experience of this changes. Previously needed to enter side rooms to interact with the structure objectives, causing them to retreat the same path. Now many of the structured objectives have been positioned along the main dungeon pathways, making them easier for players to reach and allowing them to learn to explore. So you can explore if you want to, and I think those little side dungeons are actually sometimes worth it because, there's sometimes little events in there or something. So for the people that want 100% the dungeon, they can, but I think this is a good change, especially for when you're playing with friends or something. Maybe they just want to rush through it, so it kind of was annoying that you had to go all the way to the end of the dungeon. Let's see here. Dungeon events. The chance for events to spawn inside dungeons are from 10 to 60. Like, oh, perfect. There you go. And I'm guessing dungeon events will spawn in those side rooms. So if you really want to 100% it, there's some investment or worth it because there's a good chance you'll have a dungeon event in those little side rooms. So that's great. Dungeon gameplay. To reduce the backtrack, small numbers of straggling monsters will seek players to help complete the kill all monsters objective. That's great. I did more of the open world than the dungeons. I love the dungeons, don't get me wrong, but I wanted to explore more of the world because I know I'll be doing these dungeons a lot once the game comes out. So when Animus is gathered, the player in nearby areas will gain 10 resource, reduce all cooldowns by 1 second. Is Animus, is that completing or percentages of the objective? I actually don't know what exactly that is. Dispositing Animus channel. 3 seconds to 0 seconds to rescue was reduced. Time to rescue. Okay, so I think these are just the different objectives, and it looks like they're just kind of doing the objectives worth it. Whereas, everyone just wants to speed rush the dungeon. At least these are you have to do these things, but they're giving you rewards for doing these things, which is great. I think rewards for doing the annoying stuff will incentivize people to, not feel as bad doing them, right? While carrying the Bloodstone, all of the different things you can carry, you will gain a momentum bonus, gaining 25% move speed for you and your allies. That's great. I'm glad that they think about allies. I know a lot of Diablo 2 players, or not Diablo 2, a lot of Diablo players are more solo players, but I really only play with my brother. My brother and I play a lot of the Diablo games together, so it's nice that he'll just be rushing along with the item, or one of us. It's nice that we'll both get the speed buff. And I think the speed buff is great, that it's just like, you can make these sidetracking objectives, that's fine, but as long as you give rewards for doing the objectives, like, hey, then like now it makes you faster. So if you timed the whole thing out, maybe doing these objectives will make you complete the dungeon actually faster. I don't know. I know you need to complete them, but at least before, when you had to do the sidetracking, these side objectives, you could very, very obviously tell how much slower it was taking you to complete the dungeons. Whereas now, you still have to do them, but at least it's speeding you up, so that that time you lost to do it, at least you're gaining some of it back with a speed increase. Pedestals have their channel time reduced to 0 seconds. That's great. I kept seeing like memes and stuff online of people like, why does it take you time? Like, why do you have to channel to pick up an item where there's like other things you can do? Oh, like mining. You can collect resources in Diablo 4. People are like, why can you do that? Why can you mine a node or collect stuff from a bush in 0 seconds? But for some reason, picking up an object takes 2. I don't know. It was funny, so it makes sense, and it was stupid. I know they're trying to slow down the combat, but this isn't combat. This is just the stupid, the objective clearing stuff. I hope the combat stays a little bit slower than like Diablo 3, but that's just me. I mean, everyone has their own opinion about the combat. I like it a little slower. I don't like when things are blowing up 24/7 and you lose track of your character and there's just shit all over the screen. So that's just me. Returning the object gives you reward potions. Cool. All doors will now generate a minimap ping. That's great. Now of additional combat mechanics players must overcome. I wonder that's very vague. I don't even know what that means. Maybe more enemies or bosses or epic monsters spawn, something like that. Objectives complete. Player feedback stated that the action of completing each the objective felt tedious. We hope that providing bonus. Oh, this is exactly what I was talking about. I didn't even read down here, but yeah, they're just giving you. At least they're giving you benefits for doing these objectives, so they don't feel as bad. I mean, you have to do them still, which makes sense because then they would have to totally restructure their dungeons. So this is merely the starting part. We intend to extend this philosophy to keys in the future. That's great. Classes. Oh boy, classes. Everyone likes to opinionate on the classes. I'll be honest. I've loved the druid. As someone that everyone says the druid sucks, I didn't really notice it. I'm more of a class fantasy person. I knew that, we were at 25, maybe the stuff would change as you get higher. Yes, I played like a necromancer and it was much easier and faster, but I'm more of a class fantasy guy, so it doesn't, like, I'm going to play the class I think is the coolest. Anyways, general effects like stun and freeze can be applied to elite monsters twice as long before they become unstoppable. That's good, at least kiting, for the range. I know range have it easier, but I feel like with the big powerful monsters, you definitely felt like you just had to keep, at least now your CC works a little better. Review class skills to confirm that all classes have access to tongue twister, sufficient skills that remove, control, impairing effects. Many legendary powers have had updates to their effectiveness. That's very vague. I'm just guessing they've buffed. Hopefully they've, who knows, maybe they nerfed the most powerful ones to be even with the bad ones, or they buffed the bad ones to be more even with the good ones, who knows. Or maybe, hopefully it's something in the middle. Barbarian. I've played all the classes. I played them all to varying degrees, but a flat 10% passive reduction has been added to Barbarians, some class trees. I think that's good. So I didn't play Werewolf Druid. I'm thinking of like the melee classes. Melee Rogue, he was definitely squishy, but you had so much health regen with that, I think Flurry. One of his abilities gave him health regen, so he wasn't, like, he would still like get a big chunk if he got hit by something, but you can regenerate it pretty well. And they were more mobile, so you can dodge. They have the dash, they can dodge. So I thought the Rogue was fine. He's not supposed to be tanky. Druid, I didn't really play Werewolf much, but I thought it was okay. He was, funny enough, it kind of makes sense for the Druid. The Rogue, the Werewolf form is more like the Rogue. So he had a lot of like health regen. That was kind of his tankiness, is more lifesteal. Whereas the Werebear, I thought the Werebear felt very tanky. I thought he was great. But the Barbarian, when you compare the Barbarian and the it's kind of like in Warcraft, right? Like a bear is supposed to be like a warrior tank, bear and warrior tank. Feral Rogue is like Feral Cat's like a rogue, right? So I kind of can see the similarities in Diablo 4. The Werewolf is like the rogue, the Werebear is like the Barbarian. And the Barbarian felt much more squishier, and he didn't have a lot of health regen. So I think this is great. The Whirlwinds can now deal more damage. I think this is great. I've seen a lot of YouTube videos of people saying Whirlwind is busted when you have all the best legendaries, but I hope they're doing this for a lot of classes where they're buffing skills when you don't have these legendaries, because like leveling up Whirlwind felt so bad. Like as just a skill, it was bad. So maybe they'll nerf percentages or something, but make the generalized skill hurt more. Because like right now, when I had no legendaries in my barb, this felt like the weakest skill. But then I've seen it was probably the most broken once you had all the legendaries. So there's like a basically buffing early game of it, maybe nerfing the scaling of it. I don't know. Double swing enhancement for funds and welfare cost when used on stunned or knocked on enemies. That's cool. I never used that ability. I didn't do like a dual wielding barb, so I think that's great. Druid companion skills will now deal heavenly increased damage. I think a companion druid spec would be great. I think that's cool. I did one in Diablo 2, but I also think this is good, is I almost think, you know, the way they built the skill trees, they kind of want your druid to at least have one companion. I know you can do a fully companion build, and this seems like it's, oops, I hit my mic. That'll help it a lot, but they kind of want you, like there's a wolf companion tree that buffs like more for werewolf, one for werebear. So even as like a fighter druid, they kind of want you to, oh, sorry, I'm gonna have to pause. Someone's at my door. So edit, pause. Unpause. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, there was someone at my door. All right. Where was I? Okay, so companion skills. Yeah, what I was saying was that basically even with if you're not doing like a caster build or a summoning build, you kind of do want at least one pet out, right? Because they're just it's a useful skill, like it's just passive damage. So I think that they're increasing the damage kind of just helps Druid in general kind of deal with having lower damage in the early phase of the game. At least that's my thoughts. Because, it was true that Druid definitely felt slower to kill stuff, so hopefully having your companion dealing a lot more damage just helps you clear stuff faster, right? Let's see, all ultimate skills have their cooldowns reduced. That's great. I think most of theirs were about a minute. I think Cataclysm was like a minute and a half. That felt long. But it's saying all of them, so that's great. That means a lot of the druids ones weren't really high damage, so I can kind of see why they're trying to shorten theirs compared to, I think most classes had like a minute cooldown ultimate. So the druids are going to be able to lessen that. And theirs definitely didn't feel as high damage, so it makes sense. Theirs was more, well, not all of them were utility, but anyways. Usability improvements have been made to maul and pulverize. Ooh. That's great for me as someone that's I'm for 100%, I don't care how weak or strong or how strong or weak werebear form is. That's what I played in Diablo 2. That's what I'm going to play in Diablo 4. At least the first time I level a druid will be a werebear druid. I might, I'm going to try them all at some point, probably during a season or something. But I wonder if the improvements for maul is the only issues I had with maul, and I hope that's what they're doing, is it gains more spirit. I think the druid, one of the biggest druid's issues was spirit generation, and I really do think, especially their close like melee, if you're going to be in melee, make their spirit regen like each hit, like I think each hit of spirit, let's just say, does 8. I think they should double it. Like they should give each attack 16. Because it's weird. I think range, I'm just going to give an estimate here, but I believe range gave, let's say, 7 spirit per hint. And then I think melee gave 8 or 9. That's not much more for having to run into range, So I think any melee attack that any character has should generate at least double the amount, because the fact that you have to run to them. By the time you run to an enemy that hit them to gain spirit, a ranged spirit attack like the wind shear, you could probably get 2 or 3 hits in. So I really do think that any melee, even for warrior, melee attacks need to generate more fury, spirit, whatever their resources. And then pulverize, that's great for me. I wonder what they mean by that too, because that one did a lot of damage. Maybe usability improvements. It sucks that pulverize was so dependent on the overpower, and it's interesting. I can go into a whole thing about overpower, but it's definitely more of a tank. Overpower is kind of made more for tanks. I think there's a blood necromancer spec that utilizes overpower, bear druid, and I think there's one for barb too. But anyways. And then I'm spending more time on Druid because that's the one I spent the most time on, and my favorite class is Druid. Using a non-shape-shifting skill will transform a druid back to the human form. Okay, that kind of makes sense lore-wise. Like, yeah, why? It's weird when I mean, I guess some people will complain because, like, they're so speed efficient that it's weird that a bear druid, or no, they're so speed efficient that they would rather their forms be able to cast every spell, right? Just because it's weird. There's like a slight delay. Like if you go from a bear attack to a earth or storm attack, you need a little bit of a time to shapeshift back to your human form, but I don't care, but I know some people would care. Necromancer, let's scroll down here. Necromancer. Second class I'm gonna probably play. Summoning minions will die more often, requiring players to utilize corpses more often. I think that's good. I definitely spent a lot of time. I just like clearing corpses off the map because I find them kind of distracting. That's my one nitpick about Necromancer is I wish if you didn't have an ability that uses a corpse, that those corpse things on the maps wouldn't show up because they're made bigger and more and less texturized so that people can see them and know to activate them. But if you don't have a corpse ability like, the Summon Priest or any of the corpse explosions, I don't think they should show up for Necromancer, but that's just my personal thing. So I would spam my Necro Summon to like buff my minions just because I hated having those things on my map. But I think this is good. I think you should do, they're not making you command minions like in Diablo 3, but they should. The priest, I don't think people realize, besides the priest, when you consume a corpse with the necromancy or the summon skeleton skill and you have max skeletons, besides buffing the damage, which is great, it actually heals your minions. So the fact that they're making your minions weaker means that the heal will be more beneficial, because right now you don't really need to heal that much because your minions are so tanky. So I think it'll just convince people that, and it's like a plus. People weren't using the minion summon ability a lot when it increased the damage of your minions, so you should be, but now it actually utilizes the healing part because the priest also heals a percentage of your corpses or your minions' life. So it'll just make that part more beneficial because your minions are weaker. Any bonuses to the Book of the Dead have had their stats increased. That's great. I didn't play around with it that much. I tried a non-summon build, and at least at 25, like, you need minions. Or it just felt so bad not using minions, so maybe that'll help non-minion spec necromancers, because once again, I'm spending more time on Druid and Necromancer because of those two I played on. But I do think I like Necromancers, but I hate having a massive army where you can barely see your character do anything. I like having some minions because it's just nice to have pets to kind of tank for you, kind of like the Druid only has 3 or 4 pets. But when you have like 10 plus minions, I think that, I mean, everyone has their own fantasy for Necromancer, but I think that's too much. You can't really see what your character's doing. And I think it'd be fun if, non-summoning necromancers were just as great as summoning ones. Corpse explosion damage been reduced. Okay, that seems fair. It seems like a very powerful ability. The brightness of skeletal warders and mages have been reduced. That's great. They were definitely, I can understand why they did it, because they wanted you to differentiate. I said that wonky. They want you to tell the difference between your minions and the enemies. I think as long as it doesn't seem like, at least so far, I haven't noticed any of the minions have that same essence greenish blue teal color that the Necro has. So even if you just have a teeny glint of it, it should be pretty apparent that those are your minions. And I think they even have health bars, don't they? So you can obviously tell which minions are yours because they have health bars. I actually don't remember though. So then if that's the case, then it doesn't matter because your minions have health bars. Okay, Rogue. It's interesting. The top 4 definitely have more. It looks. Oh no, Sorcerer has a lot. Okay, Rogue. Upgrades to subterfuge skills have had their bonuses increased. Okay, those are like, I think that's the most fun part of the Rogue, was those, like, where you enhance your weapon or bow. It just made the combat feel much more fun. Multiple passive skills have been up. Skills have had their bonuses upgraded, and then all. Oh, subterfuge is different than imbuement. Oops. Well, never mind. All imbuement skills have had their cooldowns increased. Okay, that's fair, because they did feel powerful. I mean, it's kind of a bummer. I thought those were the most fun. Was the imbuement? Sorry, subterfuge. I'm saying that wrong. Have had their bonuses. I don't even remember which skills those are. I can't off the top of my head. I think those are like the more utility, right? Like smoke bomb. So that's good, because I think less people used those because they weren't as great. Sorcerer. Everyone complained she/he was the most powerful. Chargeable damage was increased, and mana cost was decreased. I never saw anyone use chargeable. It just felt like if you wanted to play a lightning spec, you would use the other one. I think just lightning bolt or whatever. Decrease the damage of chain lightning, reduces effectiveness against bosses. I leveled up Asorka's lightning just because every other spell felt chain. If you weren't playing chain lightning, you just felt bad. And like I know I talked about class fantasy, and I'm not gonna main a sorceress. I just played each class to try them all out. I know I said like, oh, class fantasy, like Bear was slower, but chain lightning felt, at least to me, it felt so much better that like I tried using the other spec, like fire and ice spells, and I was just like, why? I actually like lightning spells, but I still like, in my head, at least for this one, it was so apparent how strong chain lightning was. I was like, why would I use any other skill? Decrease the cooldown of incinerates. Like I liked incinerate. There's one. Like that was another core spelling. I thought that was a cool spell, but it just didn't feel as impactful as chain lightning. Firewalls now spawn underneath enemies more frequently when using enhancement bonus. That's good. Increases the likely hit chance for meteor. Okay, and here's the long note here. Let's see. Whether we introduce changes to our class, it is with our goal of making both them and their skills feel impactful and powerful. Your feedback has helped. That's good. Some players have adaptedly. That's true. You could definitely clear by watching anyone play which skills were just way too strong. One of our goals for the skills is to have them interesting and real interactive. Yeah. We made some changes to help in these regards, with one example being the next or minions. Change them more vulnerable in combat. Yeah, this is what we talked about. You want to be more active, you want to heal them because they can die faster. But it also, it's not just healing them, you're also making them do more damage. And of course, they're going to be doing class balancing. I mean, they did beta and they got this much info. I'm hoping that with the actual game coming out, they'll have a slew more to figure out. Because I think they're now prepared for 0 to 25, but 25 to 100, we'll see what happens. UI, fixed an issue where the built-in screen reader was not reading key prompts, game options, and other UI text. I don't remember ever seeing that issue, but that's great. Yeah, some of the stuff I maybe not have noticed or caught on to. Where actions cannot be bound to the mouse wheel. I used a controller, so there are people that use mouse. It's funny, most people are the other way around, where they know all this in-depth info about the mouse. I used a controller. Ever since Diablo 3, when I played Diablo 3 on a controller, I've never gone back to a mouse and keyboard, which is great because I play Warcraft on a mouse and keyboard, so it's nice to have a controller game I can play many hours and not hurt my hand, not lose, hurt my joints too much. Fixed an issue where evade could be bound to the, okay, that's another, cannot be bound to the right analog stick. That's interesting. I just did the default for the controller. Chat will now display on the left side. Yes, I think that's good. It was such a minor thing, but it was weird because almost in every MMO RPG, I don't think you can see my mouse, but in almost every game, it's always on the left. League of Legends, every game, it's just like, by nature, it's always been on the left. So I thought it was weird that it was on the right. I almost like, because it was on the right and my brain isn't trained to look over there, I almost never read chat. Not that I don't think there was a lot of chat going on, but yeah. Character stats will be displayed by default. That's great. It's just, that was just everyone complaining about that one. And yeah, materials, when you go to construct something, you'll look at that, but you don't really need it. The move and interact inputs cannot be mapped onto one button with primary attack. Once again, I know everyone wanted this. I'm happy for them. Controller player here, so doesn't matter to me. The sans serif font used in game has been replaced with a new serif font. So sans serif means, it's almost like this. This is serif font. Trying to see if I'm not going to look at, maybe I'll pop up something on the screen that shows the difference between the two. They're trying to make it more, I know serif is more Diablo-y, like more like Times New Roman. Basically, any of like Old Century had that fancy, what's like with the little lips on each of the letters. Honestly, I didn't care as long as it's legible. I have bad vision, so people cared about font so much. I would rather it be accessible to people with bad eyesight. than having the font be something that looks aesthetically pleasing, you know? I don't know, it's just me. Encounters fix multiple issues that allowed bosses like the Butcher to become unresponsive. I only fought the Butcher once and I got wrecked because I was low. I think it was the first day of the, not pre-patch, of the beta. I encountered him and I had no idea what I was doing, so I got destroyed. And that was the only time I saw him, so. I'm glad they're making it more difficult. I didn't encounter him. Bosses, I don't remember these boss fights. I'm bad with names to boss fights, but I'm pretty sure these are just for the ones that kind of run away from you. And as a werebear druid, it was definitely frustrating. So I think this is great. I hope that they came to realize during this to help with other bosses in the future that just to help melee a little bit. You can make them run away, but if they literally, in some boss fights, that's all they do is run. So you like more than half of your battle is just catching up to them. It was ridiculous. Fixed issues with that. I didn't even notice that one. Okay, cellars. Increase the chance for dungeon events to occur in cellars. That's great. Cellars will now constantly reward a chest upon completion. That's very good. I liked going into cellars because I think it's just due to habit. In Diablo 2, I would always go into them, and Diablo 3 too. So it sucked that they literally felt useless. And, you know, I think chest, I don't know the rules, but I'm pretty sure chests have a higher chance of better loot, right? Because it's a chest. Fixed an issue where sellers are permanently marked as complete. I noticed that. That was a little annoying. Yeah, so I'm glad that they're buffing sellers. I mean, like I said, I'm an open world guy, so like I like doing these little sellers stuff. Anyways. General quality of life. Fixed an issue where players can increase attacks but maybe move canceling. Oh yeah, I saw about this. Once again, as a casual player, even if this was still in the game, I wouldn't do it because that would just... I don't even think I could. Maybe with a controller you can, but don't care. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm glad they did it for the very sweaty nerds that would do this. I would never do this. That's too much work for me just having fun with the game. We're immune after going into an area. Okay, that's just like a bug issue. The reset dungeon button. Oh, and they put like I think they updated this, but once again, this is more for the sweaty players. I never did this. Maybe I would have done this over time just because as I play a game, if I get really invested into a game, I do become more and more of a sweaty, you know, we'll do this kind of degen stuff where I'll like do the exact same dungeon, even if it's boring, because it's the most efficient. So I'm actually happy they reset this. Or not reset this, got rid of this, so that people, I almost think the solution here is, I think the reason they did this reset, they disabled it, was because from what YouTubers and Twitch people I watched, there was like one dungeon, I don't remember the name of it, but you would go in, gather up like the first 8 rares or elites, kill them, reset the dungeon, go back in, and just in the entry room. So you would literally reset the dungeon after the first 8 kills. And it seems like they're disabling it, but I think the solution is let you reset the dungeon after you've completed it. And I guess completing it is killing the final boss, right? So if you kill the final boss, you can reset the dungeon. I think that's fine. If you want to keep doing the same dungeon over and over again, that's cool with me, but resetting just to enter the dungeon to kill the first, like just to reset the first 8 rares, that's a little, you know, that's my opinion. Keep the reset button in, but you have to beat the dungeon first to reset it, because it would be weird if you couldn't reset it, so that what, you have to wait till like the daily reset or something to redo a dungeon. I don't know, I think that seems bad. Over 100 dungeons, open beta ahead. Let's see, there are many reasons to complete variety of dungeons, including powerful affixes, codex power. They will be able to repeat dungeons by partnering up with others and having them start the dungeon. We also wanted to make sure that, oh, that's good, in parties it still works, I guess. Sure that resetting the dungeon wasn't a way for hardcore players to avoid death. Oh, I didn't even think about that. I don't do hardcore, but that's interesting. I didn't even think about that, yeah. So they'll just do the same one to level up, or they'll get their gear. Still, we want the fun to repeat a specific dungeon if you're looking for a certain item. Yeah, that makes sense. Like having a responsible to cap on how many times. That's an idea. In fact, in the full games, players can acquire sigils that will unlock number dungeons, which are specifically designed to be completed repeatedly and are optimized to be highly rewarding and repeatable. Okay, so they'll have to figure that out, but that's my opinion. Just, you have to beat the dungeon to reset it. Fixed an issue which caused Gale Valley. Okay, I don't know what that means. Okay, yeah, and then I did want to end with this. Yeah, tune in for the next Diablo 4 Delver update live stream. What is this? April 20th? Is that? Oops. Is that Thursday? Featuring Riker. I subscribed to him. I watch him. He's a cool guy. I've been subscribed to him, I think, since Diablo 3. I didn't really use YouTube much back then, but I would watch his like war videos. On April 20th, yep, with game director Joe Shelley, associate director Joseph Piora. I'm probably saying that wrong, sorry. Associate director and community Adam Fletcher, accompanied by Riker, right? This time, what's this one about? Our group of Diablo 4 experts will uncover the details about Diablo 4 endgame offerings and elaborate. Okay, endgame and post beta. Maybe more of the updates on the classes and dungeons. I'll definitely be doing a reaction, and then Hail Lilith, Blessed Mother, yep. So I will be doing a reaction on this. Either like the notes or the whole thing. I think it's fun to react to these. I like their live streams. I did one for the other one. I know they're usually pretty long, but I don't know, maybe I'll chop it up. But yeah, no, this was great. It was fun to look at all of this, and oops, okay, yeah. What are your guys' thoughts? I mean, for a lot of people, this is probably kind of boring stuff, but it's just cool to see them already talk. I was more interested in the class stuff. Just curious, like I'm excited for the Druid companion skills. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. You know, do the like and subscribe stuff, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. I should have one really soon. It's actually back to Warcraft. I'm definitely jumping between Diablo and Warcraft. That's kind of what my channel is right now. Maybe new games in the future, but I've been a Blizzard fanboy at heart for a long time. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.